Devon Carter was having a spectacularly crappy day, even by the standards of human maintenance technicians aboard the intergalactic research station Epsilon-9. First, the food synthesizer had produced what could only be described as blue meatloaf. The surprise being that it tasted like mentholated shoe leather. Then, the artificial gravity had gone haywire in the human quarters, causing his coffee to float up and form perfect spheres that chased him around the room like caffeinated predators. And now, the piece de resistance, he was locked in a containment chamber with what appeared to be 8 feet of muscled alien death machine. Maintenance log. Day 233. Devon muttered into his wrist recorder. Currently questioning my career choices, particularly the part where I agreed to be the only human technician on a station run by species who think we're basically talking monkeys. The Galactic Confederation had reluctantly admitted humans to their ranks only 30 years ago. Most alien civilizations regarded humanity as physically inferior specimens: no claws, pathetic teeth, skin that tears if you look at it wrong, and endurance that made a Foxian slug seem like a marathon runner by comparison. The only reason humans hadn't been written off completely was their baffling unpredictability and what aliens called pattern-defying cognitive processes. In other words, humans were weird, and weird was occasionally useful. Devon had been fixing a ventilation unit when the automated security system had gone into lockdown. Now he was trapped in Research Chamber 12, home to the station's newest acquisition, a Nexilian hunter, supposedly the apex predator from the recently discovered planet Nexil IV. "Hello? Anyone monitoring these chambers?" Devon called toward the observation window. He could make out the silhouettes of several scientists, their multiple appendages gesticulating frantically. "I'm not supposed to be in here. This is a workplace safety violation of galactic proportions." From the shadows at the far side of the chamber came a low, rumbling sound, something between a growl and the purr of an engine the size of a cruise ship. "Perfect," Devon sighed, patting his pockets and finding nothing more dangerous than a multi-tool and a half-eaten protein bar. "If anyone's watching, I'd like the record to show that maintenance did not approve this interaction." The Nexilian hunter emerged from the shadowed corner with surprising grace for something built like a cross between a velociraptor and a tank. Its scaled hide shifted between deep purple and midnight blue as it moved, 6 amber eyes tracking Devon's every twitch. 2 primary arms ended in claws that could probably cut through the station's hull, while 4 smaller, secondary limbs flexed with obvious dexterity. The creature's jaws, lined with teeth that resembled crystalline daggers, parted slightly. "So," the Nexilian said in a voice like gravel being crushed, "you are the assassination attempt they promised me." Devon blinked. "I'm the what now?" "To the assassination attempt." "The challenge." The creature tilted its crested head. "Though I must say you seem rather inadequate." "Wow." "Rude," Devon replied automatically, before his brain caught up to the fact that he was bantering with what was supposed to be a mindless killing machine. "Wait, you can talk and understand me." Behind the observation glass, Devon could see the scientists losing their collective minds. A Traxian researcher was frantically taking notes, while what appeared to be the lead scientist, a tall, a spindly being with 4 arms and an exoskeleton that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, was pointing at them both, mandibles clacking in what could only be scientific excitement. "Of course I can talk," the Nexilian huffed. "I am Krax's 3rd hunter of the Nexilian High Guard. We are not animals." "Well, technically everyone's an animal, but I take your point," Devon said, relaxing slightly despite himself. "I'm Devon Carter, human maintenance technician, and definitely not an assassin. I was fixing the ventilation and got locked in here by accident." Krax's eyes narrowed suspiciously, all 6 of them focusing with unsettling intensity. "The commander of this facility, the one called Vrexel, assured me I would be tested against the station's most dangerous predator." Devon snorted. "And they sent me. I failed the physical combat portion of the station's emergency training. Twice. Yet humans are classified as deceptive and unpredictable," Krax countered, circling Devon with predatory grace. "Perhaps your apparent weakness is your greatest weapon." "The only weapon I have right now is sarcasm, and I'm not sure how effective that's going to be against those claws." Devon replied, watching as the scientists in the observation deck appeared to be arguing among themselves. Cracksex stopped circling and sat back on his haunches, looking genuinely perplexed. You're not even trying to attack me. Or flee. Most prey at least flees. First of all, not prey. Second, where exactly would I flee to? We're in a sealed containment unit. Devon gestured around the sterile white room, and attacking you would be like attacking a wood chipper while wearing bacon underwear. A strange rumbling sound emerged from Crax's chest, and it took Devon a moment to realize the alien was laughing. Perhaps you humans are indeed as strange as they say, Cracksex said with what might have been admiration. You face certain doom with jokes. It's called gallows humor. We're pretty famous for it. An hour later, Devon was sitting cross-legged on the floor across from Crax, who had settled into what looked like a comfortable crouch. The observation deck was now packed with scientists from various species, all watching with a mixture of disbelief and fascination. So let me get this straight, Devon said, using his multi-tool to sketch diagrams on the floor. You were told you'd be facing a dangerous opponent to test your combat readiness, and I was supposedly sent in here as alien predator Chow. Does that seem off to you? It does now that you mention it, Crax admitted, his secondary arms thoughtfully stroking the ridged crest on his head. Nexilians are known for our hunting prowess, but also for our strategic minds. This feels contrived. Exactly. Devon pointed the tool at Crax, and you know what's weird? The ventilation system that malfunctioned, it was working fine until about 10 minutes before I got called to fix it. Crax's eyes narrowed. A trap. Looking that way, isn't it? Devon stood up and stretched, making a show of casual confidence for their audience behind the glass. The question is, why would someone want to lock a human and a Nexilian in a room together? It's not like we have any history of conflict. Unless Crax rose, his impressive height forcing Devon to crane his neck. Unless this is not about conflict, but observation. Devon snapped his fingers. An experiment. They're studying how we interact. The lead scientist behind the glass, Commander Vrex L presumably, was now frantically chittering to the others, but antennae twitching in what Devon had learned to recognize as anxiety. Your people puzzle the Confederation, Crax said, physically unimpressive, yet you've survived against all odds. No natural weapons, yet dangerous in ways that defied prediction. And your people are new to the Confederation, Devon added, the pieces falling into place. They probably wanted to see how the galaxy's most unpredictable species would interact with one of its most formidable newcomers. Crax's scales rippled with what Devon was beginning to recognize as amusement. They expected blood sport and instead got conversation. How disappointing for them. Well, Devon grinned. Want to really disappoint them? By the time another hour had passed, Devon had taught Crax 3 Earth card games using makeshift cards crafted from the wrapper of his protein bar, to learn the basics of Nexilian hunting signals, and discovered they shared a mutual appreciation for what Crax called the art of tactical mockery, and Devon called talking smack. The scientists were beside themselves. Several were taking notes so frantically they appeared to be having seizures. Commander Vrexel's bioluminescent patterns were flashing in sequences that suggested either extreme scientific excitement or an imminent stroke. You know, Devon said casually, I think I've figured out how to override the chamber's lock mechanism with my multi-tool. But I'm curious to see how long they'll keep us in here. As am I, Crax rumbled. Besides, I am enjoying your stories of this customer service you once provided. The concept of restraining oneself from devouring an annoying individual is fascinating. Trust me, there were days when the restraint was heroic. Devon laughed. Their bonding session was interrupted when the observation window suddenly went dark and a holographic projection of Commander Vrex L appeared in the center of the containment chamber. Fascinating results, truly fascinating, the insectoid scientist chittered, compound eyes gleaming with scientific fervor. Subject Devon Carter has once again demonstrated the anomalous human capacity for non-standard problem-solving and interspecies adaptation. Devon stood up, crossing his arms. Subject, I'm a station employee, not a lab rat. A mere technicality. Vrex L dismissed with a wave of one spindly arm. The Xenobiology Council has long theorized that human unpredictability could serve as a bridge between incompatible species. Your interaction with the Nexilian specimen proves. I have a name, Krax interrupted, scales darkening to a dangerous purple. And I was told I was here for combat assessment, not to be part of your experiment. Brexel's antennae twitched dismissively. The Nexilian government was fully aware of our research parameters. Your High Command approved the study. We simply omitted certain details from you personally. Devon and Krax exchanged glances. So my government knew I was to be a test subject, Krax growled. As did the human supervisors, Vrexel confirmed, seemingly oblivious to the rising tension. The ventilation malfunction was manufactured, of course. We needed to observe natural interaction patterns without either subject being aware of the study parameters. Devon felt his jaw clench. So the entire station management was in on this? Everyone knew except us? Precisely. And the results are remarkable. Instead of combat, you established communication. Instead of predator-prey dynamics, you demonstrated collaborative problem-solving. The data will revolutionize our understanding of both species. Krax's secondary arms were clenching and unclenching. A gesture Devon had learned indicated deep thought, or in this case, carefully controlled rage. Commander, Devon said with forced calm, you do realize that forcing employees into potentially lethal situations without consent violates about 16 different Confederation labor laws, right? And using a High Guard member as an unwitting test subject breaches the Nexilian Treaty of Cooperation, Krax added, his voice dangerously soft. Vrexel's excitement dimmed slightly. These concerns are secondary to the scientific breakthrough we've achieved. The chamber will remain sealed for another 12 hours while we observe how your cooperation evolves under prolonged exposure. The hologram flickered off before either of them could protest further. Devon turned to Krax with a grim smile. So, how do you feel about breaking out of here and giving the good commander a lesson in informed consent? Krax's mouth opened in what Devon now recognized as a Nexilian smile, crystal teeth gleaming. I thought you'd never ask. The ventilation system is our best bet, Devon explained, using his multi-tool to remove the cover from the air duct. These chambers are built to contain specimens much stronger than me, but they never expect the specimens to have technical knowledge of the station's infrastructure. Krax watched with interest as Devon worked. And how will we bypass the security protocols? Surely they will have locked down all escape routes. That's where things get interesting. Devon grinned. See, I'm not just any maintenance technician. I'm the maintenance technician who installed the backup systems for this entire research wing 3 months ago. Systems that Commander Vrexel specifically requested because he was worried about power failures affecting his precious experiments. And these backup systems provide an advantage. They sure do. The backup power runs through a separate conduit that Devon paused as his tool connected with something that made a satisfying click. There. That bypasses the primary security circuit. Now we just need to short out the secondary motion sensors. What followed was 30 minutes of Devon crawling through increasingly narrow ventilation shafts, with Krax attempting to follow an endeavor that proved challenging given the Nexilian's size. The sight of the fearsome hunter wedged into a ventilation shaft, hind legs kicking in frustration, while Devon tried not to laugh, would have made for excellent security footage, but had Devon not already looped the cameras. This is undignified, Krax growled as he finally extracted himself from a particularly tight turn. Dignity is overrated when you're escaping, Devon replied, connecting wires that definitely weren't meant to be connected. Besides, wait until you see what happens next. What happened next was that every single security door in the research wing simultaneously opened, every alarm in the section began blaring, and the emergency sprinkler system activated, dousing the entire floor in fire suppression foam. This was your plan? Krax shouted over the alarms as they emerged into a corridor now slick with blue foam. Not exactly, Devon admitted, sliding down the hallway like it was a slip and slide. I was hoping to just open our door, but it turns out those backup systems were connected to, well, everything. through the chaos of flashing lights and blaring alarms, they could hear the panicked shouts of scientists trying to secure specimens that were now potentially loose. The foam was reaching knee level for Devon, which meant it was a mere inconvenience for the taller Kraxx. "The command center is this way," Devon pointed, then promptly lost his footing and went face first into the foam. Kraxx effortlessly scooped him up with one primary arm. "Perhaps I should lead. You navigate." Together they made an odd but effective team. Kraxx's strength and natural stability, allowing them to traverse the foam-filled corridors, while Devon's knowledge of the station layout guided them toward the command center, where they knew they'd find Commander Vrexel. They arrived to find the command center in complete disarray. Scientists of various species were frantically trying to restore order to systems that Devon had effectively scrambled. In the center of it all stood Commander Vrexel, his exoskeleton flashing patterns of distress and rage as he barked orders. "What have you done?" the commander screeched when he spotted them. "Do you have any idea of the specimens you've potentially released? The damage to ongoing experiments?" "Funny thing about damage," Devon said, wiping foam from his face. "When you treat people like lab rats, sometimes the rats bite back." 3 weeks later, Devon sat in the newly designated Interspecies recreation area of Station Epsilon-9, nursing a drink that was actually designed for human taste buds for a change. Across from him, Kraxx was enjoying what appeared to be raw meat of questionable origin, his scales a content shade of blue. "So," Devon said, raising his glass, "here's to the most successful diplomatic incident in recent Confederation history." Kraxx clicked his teeth in amusement. "Indeed. Who would have thought that our escape would result in formal relations between humans and Nexilians?" The fallout from what station personnel now called the foam incident had been spectacular. Once the Confederation Council learned of the unauthorized experimentation, both the human and Nexilian representatives had demanded formal investigations. Commander Vrexel had been reassigned to a research outpost studying microbial life on an ice moon, a significant demotion for someone of his scientific standing. More surprisingly, the incident had revealed that both humans and Nexilians shared a deep cultural value, a profound dislike of being manipulated. This common ground had formed the basis for diplomatic talks that were progressing with unprecedented speed. "I still can't believe they made you the official human liaison to Nexil," Devon chuckled. "No more unbelievable than your appointment as Nexilian cultural attaché," Kraxx countered. "Though I must say, teaching my people about high fives has been challenging. Our claws make it something of a health hazard." Around them, the station had transformed. What had once been a place where humans were barely tolerated as necessary technical staff now featured regular cultural exchange programs. Devon had introduced movie nights, while Kraxx had begun teaching classes on Nexilian tactical philosophy, which turned out to have surprising applications in station management. "You know what the best part is?" Devon said, leaning back in his chair. Commander Vrexel actually got the data he wanted. "Turns out humans and supposedly terrifying apex predators can get along just fine, especially when they both enjoy messing with authority figures." The commander's hypothesis was correct, merely his methodology was flawed, Kraxx agreed. "Though I still take issue with being called a mindless killing machine in his initial research proposal. At least he called me surprisingly adaptable." Devon laughed. A notification chimed on Devon's comm unit. "Looks like the new Nexilian delegation is arriving tomorrow. Ready to welcome your people to their first official tour of a human-managed station." Kraxx's scales rippled with pride. "Indeed. Though perhaps we should ensure the ventilation systems are all in working order. We wouldn't want another incident." "Actually," Devon grinned mischievously, "I was thinking we might give them a proper welcome. How do you feel about blue foam as a traditional human greeting gesture?" As Kraxx's rumbling laughter filled the recreation area, Devon couldn't help but think that sometimes, being the physically weakest species in the galaxy had its advantages. When everyone expects you to be prey, no one expects you to make friends with the predator or to reprogram the station's environmental controls just for laughs. Humanity's greatest weapon, it turned out, wasn't strength or claws or teeth. It was the ability to turn a potential enemy into an ally, Preferably one with a good sense of humor and 6 badass eyes. Humanity, fuck yeah.